do we define methods? A method is basically a collection of statements that are grouped together to perform an operation. In a slide, you see on the left side a typical method and how you can define it. And on the right side, you see how we can invoke this method or call this method so that there will be some actions. So let's examine each part one by one. Here, you see the same method, but this time we have some explanations for it. So the first line you see here, public static int max, int num1, int num2. That's called the method header. The header includes all the necessary information that you need about the method. Usually, in a Java program or in any similar programming language, a method header comes right after some lines of explanation that tells you what that method actually does. Those are some commented lines. Let's examine the pieces of the header. First, the name of the method. The name of the method in this example is max. Right beside the method name, inside a pair of parentheses, you have the parameter list. Those pair of parentheses can have as many parameters as you need. Here in this example, we have only two. Those are both integer parameters. And generally, these are called formal parameters. This is a parameter list of the method. And those are the numbers that are, or characters, or any type of variable that is sent to the method from the calling program. Formal parameters can be named using Java naming conventions. So those are usual variable names, but those names do not have to match the names that are given to the variables in the calling program. For example, the method is invoked from somewhere else, and you can see this line here, int z equal max x, y. Those are the actual parameters, and sometimes called arguments. As you can see, x does not match num1. It doesn't have to. The value of x will be assigned to num1. This is called parameter passing. So inside a function or the method, you can name your formal parameters however you want. The next thing you can see in the method header is the return value type. Here, the return value type is an integer. That type comes right before the name of the method. Methods can return a value. Sometimes methods do not return a value, but if it does, then you have to specify the type of the return value right at the header, as you can see in this example. The return value type is the data type of the value of the method returns. So it has to match this line you see here, the last line of the function in this example, return result. So the type of result, data type of result, should be exactly the same type with the return value type specified here. If the method does not return a value, the return value type will be void. Void is another special keyword, and it actually means that this function will not return anything. How do you call the methods? Calling a method executes the code in the method. In a method definition, you define what the method is to do. To execute the method, you have to call or invoke it usually from another piece of the program, from another method in your program. There are two ways to call a method, depending on whether the method returns a value or not. In our example, our method returns a value. So our example was the method max. And here is an example about how you can invoke it. Since max is returning a value of type integer, that returned value should be received by the calling program. In this example here, in this line, it is assigned to another integer value called larger. You don't have to store the returned value every single time. Sometimes you can use it right away, for example, by printing it on the screen, like shown here, system.out.println max34. In this call, the function max is called, the method will run and return the value, whatever the maximum number is, in this case 4. And once 4 is returned by this max method, it will be directly sent to screen to be printed right away. If a method returns void, meaning it doesn't return anything, then a call to the method is just a statement. Whenever a program calls a method, program control is transferred to the called method. A called method returns control to the calling function or calling method when its return statement is executed or when its method ending closing brace is reached.